Hello there, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992435. Our leading stories this hour. Massive final push as the two big political parties canvass for votes with barely 14 days to the election. Former President Mahama hits northern Ghana after the Ashanti region, and President Akufo-Addo hits Volta and then the eastern region. We have highlights from their final campaigns as we hear also from the Electoral Commission on alleged publication of names and biodata of voters. The National Democratic Party refused information circulating that flag bearer of the party, who is also widow of the founder of NDC, will drop out of the presidential race. They have failed, however, to confirm nor deny. We're live on the ground as they hold a press conference. We'll take you there shortly. Also coming up in this bulletin, National Media Commission rolls out a program to monitor the media space as we head into the elections. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation, and we're live on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're also on our social media handles, especially Facebook. My name is Gifty Andor-Pia. I'd like to take you back to Alisa Hotel, where the NDP is holding a press conference addressing some of the concerns and the issues that have come up. Well, that press conference has ended at Alisa Hotel by the National Democratic Party, formed by Mrs. Nana Konadu Rawlings. So I'll take you right there where Latif Idris is standing by to give us highlight of what has been said so far if you missed it. Hello, Latif. I'm hopeful that you hear me, Latif, and we did hear them say a number of things. You take us through what they said. One thing, though, that stands out is the answer to whether or not Mrs. Rawlings will be pulling out of the presidential race. Him to find out what's been said. Hello, Latif, do you hear me? Okay, so that's the NDP, the National Democratic Party, that's holding a press conference right now. They did say a lot of things about the NDC. They spoke about the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, who they suggest was not on very good terms with the former President Rawlings, who has also died. And they're asking people who believe in the ideals of Mr. Rawlings to transfer, if you like, their emotions or their feelings for him, essentially their votes, to the NDP. They also talk about how Mrs. Rawlings helped in the formation or the foundation of that party, the National Democratic Congress. And they say that she didn't seem to, or Mr. Mahama didn't have a good relationship with who they describe as the midwife of the party, that's the NDC. And they're saying that for those who believe in the Rawlings legacy, they should look towards the NDP. They, however, have failed to either indicate that Mr. and Mrs. Rawlings will go ahead with the presidential race or pull out. They, however, say the information circulating to that effect should be disregarded. And we heard from the national or the general secretary, who also says they describe themselves as the secretary general of their party. Let's hear Latif right now.
Where the secretary general of the NDP just finished addressing a press conference at the Alisa Hotel. The press conference started off with the party setting the record straight. You recall that in the early hours of Monday morning, that's today, there were news in circulation to the effect that Nana Konadu Rawlings had opted out of the December 7, 2020 general elections. That is exactly what the Secretary General of the party did right from the blast. He said and described that news that was in circulation as, quote, fake news. The party says this is an attempt by detractors of the party and opponents of the former First Lady. They are doing all they can to discredit her candidature and also to get at her. That is according to the Secretary General of the party, and he is urging the general public. In fact, what he did was to read a statement he said is coming from the former First Lady. So what he read on the podium before the reading, he stated categorically clear that this is what the former First Lady had prepared for the party to come and present to the Ghanaian population. That is particularly in regard of what they have now described as fake news. After that, he went on to read a very tall statement which is coming from the party. At least that's what we know for now. Now, in that statement, like you mentioned in your intro in the studio, Gifty, what the party is saying essentially is that the NDC, opposition NDC, which few months back were out and about damaging the reputation and achievements of the late former President Rawlings, is today singing from a different hymn page and with a different tune altogether. Today they've assumed the position of chief mourners, crying more than the bereaved. That is what the General Secretary, or the Secretary General as they call that designation within the NDP, is putting out there. So what the NDC is seeking to do, according to the NDP, is to exploit, and that is the word he used, exploit the death of the former president. When there was time for Q&A, I asked him a few questions. For instance, one of the other allegations he made was that the NDC's flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, is sponsoring one Kelvin Taylor to create content and share on social media. And this content seeks to do just one thing: to damage the reputation of the late former president, Jerry Rawlings. That is one. Two, he says the Ahoys and former President Mahama are also out there trying to take control over the NDC. Even when the late former president was alive, the NDC, led by the Ahoys camp, and then John Dramani Mahama, set out to take over the NDC. And that is exactly what they are doing even after the death of the former president. I asked whether he had evidence to show. He says we should hold on, and that in the coming days, the party, the NDP, will properly address that with evidence. We are hoping to see how soon this evidence will be available to show that indeed former President Mahama sponsored the works of Kelvin Taylor. One last bit before I come over to you, Gifty, is that the NDP today described, and this is public knowledge, that the former First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, is the midwife and the mother of the opposition NDC. That is a well-known fact. So what next? Now the former president is gone. Would the midwife and the mother come back and assume her motherly role as the mother and the midwife that gave birth to the NDC? That question, we didn't get the concrete response that one would have wished for. And maybe going forward, whether or not Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings will come back and close ranks with the NDC to forge ahead for a victory to honor the memory of the late former president. That also remains one of the gray areas that have not been properly handled, even at this particular press conference addressed by the Secretary General of the National Democratic Party. One other thing they did was to tell us a story about the relationship between the former First Lady and the late former president, where they started, where they met, and what they meant to each other right before the death of the former president. Gifty.
Lateef, thank you very much for that wrap. I'm not sure if you can hear me and how much delay we'll have to deal with on that. But you seem to have put everything together for us. Thank you. Lateef Idrisi, they come to us live from Alisa Hotel, where the National Democratic Party has just been addressing a news conference. Lateef told us what they we're talking about. Now, still on the elections, the governing NPP is hopeful its quest to win 1 million votes and 30 out of the 33 seats in the eastern region is on course. President Akufo-Addo, who expressed optimism, says his good works across the country will result in an emphatic win for him in the December 7 general elections, just 2 weeks away. At the start of day 2 of the Eastern Regional Tour at Eburi, Nana Akufo-Addo said the NPP has the blueprint for the country's development, hence the need for it to be retained in government for another term.
Eminent clergy, Sarakin Zongo Imam, Eburi Mai, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen, and Nije Kessie and Edimia Babri Anope. Na don't he what church mu na o papa owo onono ifre Eburi ha adodankwano I dey friend me no me nana I will free Eburi ni din no enti e from me nana adodankwa no free no ko ekropon ko wara me ma me nana abuafi e dey wo me papa ono su ko che bi o dey wo me nti Eburi dey me ba na maba me ankasa me dey mo den ayenche. Esa me damase timo ba be hia me bebrebe fefe say anope onya me hia mo nyina baako nene teacher say me da na don't tell say Eburi and you young can see our best me anope. Nentumano, Ekunyalo, any deeds or the Akaho Mame. But then I say, Unyamishano, now don't tell me that's papa, that's it. Now, me buy that I did Bakwa, I can't. Who I am in Denso, and it's a say. I feel waxy results. Free SHS, first batch of students. Waxy results a free Eburi secondary school abbey. And ya adike to a more day. Like I'm about because 1 year now one is moved to me no. What any say who na so the major etie ya kanwasam. Etie ya kanwasam. Mo bobo de mo bobo sam mama wo mo bobo de. But you for that day here. Me dey be ketwa bi. If you na ababa twamwe. Eburi mai, Ekuape mai, Ghana mai. Yeah. But this said, I'm going to my say. Some more said, you mamma baye. The son of word, Jumano says, Sefata. Namamba, Semi Baba Dada, when I'm the crown, I'm the catcher more. Said Juma Maya and there's somewhere near Miss Ramo, Moma me Quina me Tuama Jumano, so that 4 years for Nanano and the Juma.
President Akufo-Addo there as they all make the final push for your votes. Well, the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is also in the northern region. He says what he's calling propaganda by some people that the Akufo-Addo-led government has not built a single hospital in the 4 years of its tenure cannot be true. Addressing the chiefs and people of Tolon in the northern region at the commissioning of a 6-capacity district hospital, the Vice President said that Tolon District Hospital is one of the 6 district hospitals started 3 years ago by the government. He also says government in the last 4 years has put up 844 infrastructural facilities in the health sector across the country.
The next couple of years, we have completed the designs, the land has been found, and the contractors will soon get to site to build these 111 hospitals to fill the gap so that we complete the loop as far as district hospitals are concerned. I'm happy to note that 27 of these district hospitals will be coming to the 5 northern regions of Ghana. So, ladies and gentlemen, all these facilities, like the one we are inaugurating today, are the vision of His Excellency President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. And it is very, very important that we continue to make sure that we provide the necessary infrastructure to allow these health services to deliver proper and quality health services to our population. This hospital that we are inaugurating today, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, it's an ultra-modern hospital. The Vamed contractors have talked about it already, but I just want to emphasize that it is designed with several departments, including the administration department, the outpatient and emergency department, the inpatient wards for male, female, and pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, maternity and child health, surgery, including intensive care unit, physiotherapy, pharmacy, diagnostic services, including X-ray, laboratory and ultrasound, logistics buildings, housing the CSSD, laundry, hospital, and so on. It also has a mortuary, and that is where it should be, not in the Zongo communities. Staff facilities, including dining areas, changing facilities, and housing units for critical staff, to ensure that the hospital functions without any major obstacles for the full complement of the electromechanical systems and medical equipment have been provided. The hospital is equipped with modern medical equipment, and key amongst them are X-ray machines, which are stationed as well as mobile, ultrasound, surgical equipment, medical gases, patient monitors. Tinanama, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to use this occasion to caution us on what appears to be the scourge of this country, the lack of planned preventive maintenance schedules in managing our facilities. This has led to a considerable waste of precious resources on building new facilities. We need to stop this. The hospital administrators must plan and budget for routine maintenance in the 3 to 4 year cycle to ensure that the physical facilities and equipment are constantly well maintained. I am particularly happy that the scope of this project is designed to address issues of maintenance and sustainability with a 2-year post-completion maintenance and training program. On this score, I will entreat the Ghana Health Service to liaise with the contractor's maintenance team to effectively maintain the hospital. Beyond the 2-year period, I I expect a full transfer of knowledgeable skills so that the hospital does not run down, as has happened in many public facilities. The joy we are sharing today must translate into the maintenance and management of this facility. I would also like
Well, 800 plus facilities he talks about as far as the health sector is concerned. Let's get to our correspondent in the northern region, Martina Bugri. Martina, let's start with where the Vice President is currently.
Currently arrived at the Kumbungu constituency, where he'll be addressing some party faithfuls. But he's been in the northern region for the past 3 days, and today is the final day. So far, he's visited 6 constituencies. This is the 7th one, and he has 1 to go, and that will be available to end the day and the tour for the 3 days.
Well, talking about the facilities, the Vice President says that there are 800 plus infrastructural development in the health sector. Does he specify exactly where these are?
He mentioned some in the voice, those that are ongoing and those that are completed. Now he says that they inherited some, which he says they have also completed. And so he doesn't specifically say, okay, this is the full list of infrastructure that we have done. It just says that these are they have done 800 plus infrastructure, and this is what they have done, they have completed so far.
As you say, he's been addressing the people and telling them what their party has in stock for them. Should they vote him once again? How has he been accepted in the region?
The region has welcomed him with open arms. Any constituency he visited, they were excited, and then they talked about the achievements of the NPP in these constituencies. In Tolong, the promise was that they would have the hospital by the end of their first tenure, and that has been delivered. And so he says that the NPP is a promise keeper. When they come into a covenant with any area, they deliver. And this is a testament to show that when they promise, they deliver. The people were excited because they believe it's going to the Tolong district, Bakumbungu, and some parts of Saviligu, which is very close to Tolong and Kumbungu itself, and then the Tolong area. And so people are going to benefit. It's going to help not just one district. It cuts across about 3 districts will be benefiting from this facility. And so the people are really excited. They said this is the first time they are getting something beautiful like that in a district in the area.
And certainly Kumbungu is an area that the NDC has won elections there, and that's where the Vice President takes his final push for the campaigns. But Martina, we've recently done reports about security in these communities. Do the chiefs talk back? For example, do they get to address the gathering after the Vice President has spoken? And what concerns do they raise? Does it include security, for example?
Most of the concerns that have been raised in these areas, they talk of bad roads. They also talk of water, and in some communities, they talk of electricity. Some who have benefited are also asking for more infrastructure. And so it depends on which area he visited and what are the issues they raise. But generally, issues of security has not emerged since the travel. Most of the chiefs have just talked of the developmental issues that they need. None raised the issue of security.
Very well. As Martina said, depending on where they find themselves, where the Vice President finds himself, he gets the request by the people. Martina, thank you. Let's move to the Eastern region. Elton Bobe is our man on the ground who has been following President Akufo-Addo. Elton, where is the president right now?
So, we are currently at the Zulu Kobo constituency of the Eastern region. President Akufo-Addo is about to speak. On the platform now is the former General Secretary of the MPP, Cabinet Judge Paul, who has been with the campaign since day one. And he's been talking about the fact that President Akufo-Addo has the competence and the integrity to take the country to the promised land. And for that reason, the people of the Eastern region should renew the mandate of the NPP. Now, we are in this constituency among 3 other constituencies that since 1992, they've always voted for the NDC. It was only in the 2016 election that the upper area voted for the NPP. The lower consistently, they've always voted for the NDC. We just left that place and currently at the Euro Krobo constituency. Now, before coming to this, President Akufo-Addo addressed a mammoth rally, and it was quite clear that the upcoming election is about trust, it's about competence, it's about integrity. And between him and the NDC's candidate, he is miles ahead of him in terms of trust, in terms of competence, in terms of delivering on promises made. And for that reason, if any attempt or if any mistake is made to return the NDC into power, it will be the continuation of erratic power supply, recession, and general hardship in the society. And if Ghanaians want to continue to enjoy the good life that they are experiencing now, then there's the need for the NPP to return in power. For the NPP, they have a target for the Eastern region, win 1 million of the popular votes and get 30 out of the 33 seats available in the Eastern region. And that is why they are pushing so hard to ensure that they attain this particular target going into the December 7th general election. Because the election is just some few days away, exactly 2 weeks away from now, what they are doing according to the handlers of the president is to undertake whistle stop. In some of the rounds, the president will only come out of vehicle, wait to the people, and then move on. But on our way to this, the people had already put together a program. So there was no the president was going to pass them by without addressing. That's how come this rally is taking place right behind me. It was not part of the program, and the people had put together all the necessary tools. The president has to just simply stop and address them. That's what is happening now. So the candidate is on the days when he is done, President Akufo-Addo will speak. Now the final leg of today's 2 days of the Eastern, which is to climax President Akufo-Addo visit to the Eastern region, will be a mammoth rally at the Eastern Regional Capital, Koforidua, and that's the New Job South constituency, where leading members of government from the region are expected to speak. And like I did indicate early on, the message has been simple: go out there to vote, ensure that the mandate of the NPP is renewed, because of President Akufo-Addo, they hold a blueprint to ensure the total development of the country. The country has a better chance of witnessing this if the government is given 4 more years.
Elton, thank you very much. I see that you are on the move. I leave you to it. And as and when there's any further development, I'm sure you'll give that to us. Elton Bobe there is our presidential affairs correspondent who's following President Akufo-Addo as he makes his final push, for your vote. In the meantime, the National Democratic Congress's presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, says despite a corruption tag put around the neck of his government by the then opposition New Patriotic Party, the governing party is now, in his words, swimming in corruption. Speaking at an evening community engagement in the Bolgatanga East constituency, Mr. Mahama cited the Ejapa and the PDS deals as justifications for his claims. Maxwell Agbagba has a wrap from the former president's campaign.
An Asawasi constituency health walk in memory of party founder and former president Jerry John Rawlings was the last activity that ended NDC presidential candidate John Mahama's tour of the Ashanti region. His message, especially in some mining communities, focused on freeing persons jailed for galamsey as part of the mining sector reform. He said the NDC will improve the free senior high school program, but will abolish the double track system within a year and rather focus on building more schools. In farming communities, he has been promising farmers free fertilizers. John Mahama has also been touting the infrastructural record of the party in the Ashanti region, citing the KJTIA market and others, stating the NDC will do more if elected. Corruption featured prominently during his visit to communities over the weekend. At Mampon, he told electorates the NDC will act on the findings of the special prosecutor on the Japa deal if persons who illegally benefited from it do not return the money if NDC wins. we are moving to the Upper East region right now. So ahead of me, you can see the convoy moving. We were in the Ashanti region earlier today, where there was a walk organized by the NDC in the Asawase constituency. What we've noticed is that as you begin to move from the greater Accra region, the compliance, the wearing of the face masks really begins to diminish. In the Ashanti region where we were, I took particular notice of that in the Ashanti region, not many people were wearing their face masks. And as we continue to move in further to the northern part of the country, to the Savannah region, to the northern region, and now to the Upper East region, not many people, are wearing the mask. And that is actually having a trickling effect actually at those community engagements where the NDC presidential candidate has been speaking. So for many of the places that we visited, the members of the campaign team, those who are with the convoy, those who are with the campaign team, you see all of them wearing their face masks. The only time you see them taking off their face masks is when they are coming to interact, with the people who are gathered. That's the only time you see them remove it. And even when they're about to speak, the microphones are sanitized before they talk. But quite disappointingly though, the people who come to listen to the message that they have for them really are not adhering to the COVID-19 protocols. Part of his speech focused on corruption in the Bolga East constituency Sunday evening.
All you see is corruption. At the time we were in office, they tarred us with the brush of corruption. And they made so much noise about it. Today, the president is bathing in corruption. And I say that because the allegations of corruption are of people close to him. And that's why I say he's bathing in it. You can be president, there might be a CEO or something who does something. You probably are not aware, but when you become aware, you must take action against it. But when you take cases like PDS, and you hear his own brother and his cousin and others discussing how to distribute shares of PDS, then the president is bathing in corruption. We have their voices on tape discussing how somebody should reduce his shares so that they'll see how to share the thing. And the guy said, I won't reduce it. I won't go below 40%. We all heard that on the tape. As if that was not enough, then you have Ejapa. And everybody associated with Ejapa is close to the president or his senior associates. And the Office of the Special Prosecutor has released a damning report.
Maxwell Agbagba put that report together. Maxwell is still on the campaign trail. He's joining me right now. Hello, Maxwell. I understand you're on the way to Garu Timpani. What has happened since you left, that report last night?
Oh,
hello, Maxwell. Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, Kifty. So, as you rightly mentioned, we are heading to Garu Timpani now. A lot of the NDC supporters, some of them on motorbikes, are accompanying the NDC presidential candidate as he makes an entry to the constituency. But earlier, he visited the Boko Naba to announce his presence in the region. He said it is best practice for him to announce his presence and to come and greet him first of all before he starts campaigning, activities. He has addressed 2 rallies so far. He's been speaking to the electorate. He has been telling them that they have the opportunity in this election to choose someone who promises and then someone who only delivers and does not fulfill the promises that he makes. He says that if the NDC is elected into power, the NDC will actually build a new district hospital for Boku Central. He says that they made that promise sometime in 2016, but the NDC was not elected in 2016. And so they are repeating that in 2020, if the NDC is elected into power, they will make sure they build a new district hospital for Boku Central. In fact, he has been talking about development of the infrastructure here, end Boku. He says that if the NDC is elected, they will build what he describes as mini KJT markets for the people. He says the Boku Township Road would also be tarred. He says that has not happened under the NPP, and it's in the plans of the NDC that if they're elected into power, they will make sure that they tar all the Boku Township roads. In fact, he has been jabbing the NPP. He says that for the dams that they have constructed in Boku, he is describing them as he called them duck ponds. He says these are ponds where ducks go in to swim, and that it's not any proper irrigation system that can support the people during rainy season, during the dry season. So he's saying that if the NDC is elected into power, they will make sure they build proper irrigation system for them that would cater for their needs, even in the dry season. He's been talking about the big push. He's been talking about jobs for young people. He has also been talking about the free universal primary health care for the residents. Yeah, he mentioned that when we're in the Ashanti region, and he's been repeating that here in the Upper East region as well. And I speak to you, we've reached our destination where we'll be addressing some community members and electorate here on a park. A lot of people are gathered here. They park their motorbikes and waiting for him, to arrive, for him to address them.
Well, Maxwell, we'll certainly be getting more from you. But before you go, when he addresses the people, do they get a chance to speak back and talk about their concerns? What concerns are they raising as you go along?
Sorry, it's a bit difficult.
Yes. Let's try it once again. If it doesn't work, it's okay. We'll try another time. I just wanted to find out what concerns the people raise when he meets them and tells them what he has for them. What feedback does he get? Do they come along with their own concerns? And what are these?
Yes. A lot of the people he has been interacting with, they have been talking about jobs. Many of them have been talking about how some of the promises that he made and some of the projects that he started have actually stalled after the NDC was both, after the NDC left government. They have been raising this concern. Many of the young people who've had a chance to actually get closer to some of the campaign team members, they've been talking about jobs. And they've been talking about how they can actually benefit from some of the promises that the NDC presidential candidate, has been making. So, really, it's more about jobs, and how the party can deliver for the people here.
Maxwell, I'll let you go on that one. Thank you very much for that update. We'll come back to you. Maxwell Agbagba, they're bringing us up to speed. They're on their way to Garutimpani. Maxwell is embedded with the John Mahama campaign team. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Rapper. We brought you stories about the final push being made by the two big political parties, John Dramani Mahama for the NDC, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for the NPP. They're both making a last swing at convincing you to vote for them. We'll bring you more, including what the EC is saying about an alleged publication of voter biodata that has gone viral as well. We'll talk to you about that. We've also already told you what the NDP is doing regarding information speculating that the flag bearer Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings will be pulling out of the presidential race. We have more when we return from this break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. Now, the newly created Savannah region has been in the news this year for at least 2 cases of violence against women. As the country heads to the polls, there are growing concerns about insecurity as armed robbery and political violence emerge. For our series dubbed Safety for My Votes, which puts the spotlight on security in hotspot communities, we make a stop in the region which has 129 hotspots. Correspondent Isaac Nonya's report read to you.
Until it was carved out of the then northern region, the Savannah region has been considered one of the most peaceful areas with minimal security breaches. These mostly bordered in chieftaincy disputes. As elections draw closer, 129 hotspots have been identified by the police. With this in mind, one of the topmost security concerns for residents here in Damongo in the West Gonja municipality of the Savannah region, increasing armed robberies.
It is very rampant, very common, almost day in, day out. We hear cases about armed robbery cases.
And violence against women in the region.
In terms of security breaches, you talk about these alleged witchcraft issues. The poor, vulnerable women, they are those that these issues are always, they always suffer from these accusations.
Areas like Damongo Fofoso Road, Sola Damongo Highway, Bamboy, Bole and Sola Highway, including Bupe and Fofoso Highway, have all become dangerous to ply as robberies are often recorded there. Residents say they are terrified. For other residents, youthful indiscipline is on the rise.
And it appears the political fever is making most of them feel comfortable in their zones, in the sense that the politicians sometimes visit them, encourage them, and even assist them. And I am feeling that they have the potential of escalating our insecurity in the community.
Here is Savannah Regional Chairman of People Living with Disabilities, Kittley Stephen. He says the political intolerance exhibited between supporters of the NPP and NDC during the registration exercise should not have gone unpunished.
It was not fine, it was not good for Damongo because gunshots here and there. Some of them got injured. Some of these people, those who had the guns, were brought to Damongo. They were arrested and brought to Damongo. As I talk, I don't know how it has ended.
Meanwhile, the pains of the lynching of 90-year Madam Ekuadente of Kafaba in the East Gonja district and that of Maria Abukari and two others at Sumpini in the West Gonja municipality in the region are still fresh in the minds of many.
So a mixture of general security concerns vis-a-vis the fact that these hotspots exist in this area. Public Relations Officer for the Savannah Region Police Command, Ejekum Owusu, says although the concerns are legitimate, police there have the situation under control.
Savannah region, we were having 3 topmost breaches, I should say, in the region, which were very dear to we the police. One being the chieftaincy issue, which was at Bole. With the help of the Security Council and the Yagbonwura, we've been able to solve that problem. As I'm talking to you, a substantive chief has been enskined at the place, and now there is peace. The second one was robbery on our highways, and especially during market days in certain villages and towns. With the introduction of on-the-vehicle escort by the regional command, problem 2 has been curtailed, and at the moment, robbery on our highways has drastically reduced, if not eradicated. It has come down to the barest minimum, which is good. And then another important one was this witchcraft things, which a woman at Kafaba was lynched. The same incident happened at Sumpini. In all these, the Kafaba, the people who committed this offense have been arrested, and the major prime suspects we have are currently facing court trial. Likewise, Sumpini. So, in a nutshell, the region is calm now. We are now facing the election which is about to happen, and as I'm talking to you, deployment is being done. We are pre-informing all police officers, including our sister security agencies, where everybody will be performing his or her duty for us to be combat readiness. So, concerning the election, I will tell the public they should remain calm, go about their normal duties. Everything concerning security is under control.
Safety for My Vote is our series here, focusing on security, especially in hotspot communities as we go towards the election, and what localized interventions there are to deal with any such events should they occur. Now, away from now, the European Union Election Observation Mission has deployed 40 election observers who have arrived in Ghana from the European Union ahead of the general elections next month. The observers are expected to meet electoral officials, candidates and representatives from political parties in each region. They would also meet members of civil society groups and the media. Let's get more on the work of the observers from Deputy Chief Observer Marian Gabriel, who joins us via Zoom. Hello, thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me in the program.
Right. Let's begin with what you have observed so far. You're welcome to Ghana, by the way. What have you observed so far, even with the election, the campaign processes?
Obviously, we arrived as the mission at the beginning of November, and after some couple of days, we deploy our observers to all regions of Ghana. And what they started to observe, of course, is the campaign process. And they are also meeting election administration people at all regions and district offices, and getting questions about voter registration, about the nomination of candidates, and of course, any incidents of violence which might occur during the campaign process, etc. So we are now in the stage of observing campaign process and election preparations.
And regarding the election preparations itself, I'm sure you have picked up a few information that you can give us your thoughts, if you like, on. Just this morning, there was, over the weekend, there was supposedly a publication of voter biodata by the Electoral Commission. I'm wondering if you have heard about this conversation and what your thoughts are on it.
Obviously, we follow every stage of the process, but as election observers, we are not entitled to give any opinion at this stage. If we found something which seems like irregularity, we raise these questions with the Electoral Commission, with the Madame Jeanne Mensa herself, or at the regional or district offices of the election administration. But we are not really communicating to media any shortcomings we would find so far. On the other side, we are preparing a statement just after elections, and after election day, we will comment on all aspects of the process.
Right. What should Ghanaians be expecting from you and your team on the day of election, after the day, when we're expecting the results, etc.?
Thank you very much for that question. I think that European Union election observers are not new to Ghana. We were also here in 2016 and also in 2008 to observe general elections. We produce quite comprehensive analysis of the elections. For example, 2 days after election day, we normally publish a statement, some 10 pages long, and we are not just saying something positive or negative about the election process. We really analyze in deep what we think about voter registration, as I said, nomination, campaign, misuse of state resources, issues related to campaign finance, election day, voting, tabulation process, results process, etc. If you look at the 2016, there were a number of shortcomings in also, and many aspects of the election process were positive. So we will very carefully again look on the positive aspects, but also on those aspects which were not so good, and really analyze them again, so public can compare our report from 2020 and 2016, and maybe make their assessment if there is any progress in the elections, or in which part of the election process there is a progress and there is something which is more complicated or more negative than it was in 2016. So they can expect from us a really comprehensive statement just only after 2 days after elections.
Very well. We'll be looking out for that. Is there anything I haven't asked but which you believe we should know before you go?
I think that Ghanaian needs to know that we were invited as observers by the government, by the Electoral Commission, that we established very good working relations with our main counterpart, which is Electoral Commission. Of course, we met also the most important players, like main parties and several presidential candidates. And of course, we will continue this work. It's something what is, I think, very important. We will stay here also a couple of weeks after elections. So we will look entire process. But observers, Ghanaian needs to know that election observation is not about election day, but as a whole process, including campaign and also process after elections. But that is our main principle, to follow the whole election process, not just election day voting and counting.
Certainly, we in the media look forward to engaging with you as well, and we look forward to the comprehensive analysis that you referred to. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
I've been speaking to Marian Gabriel. He is the Deputy Chief Observer with the EU mission, and they are in the country to monitor the elections. As you heard, it came on the invitation of the Ghanaian government through the Electoral Commission. Well, with just 14 days to the 2020 polls, the National Media Commission is cautioning security agencies against the abuse of journalists who will report on election day. According to the NMC, security agencies who do not have the right to stop pressmen from executing their tasks. Speaking to JoyNews at an interaction between the National Media Commission and the Center for Democratic Development on abusive language and hate speech monitoring, Chairman of the NMC, Yabuedwa Yabuafo, said that they will introduce an app to help prevent the distortion of information.
But it is an advantage. You see, what we are going to do this year because of COVID, people cannot assemble in the numbers that usually they do. What we are going to do is that we have this app that when we load it on your mobile phone, wherever you are, if you come across any event, any scene, and you want to capture that, you can capture that and send it to our receiving room. Yeah, the good thing about it is that it's GPS stamped, and it is also dated, so that if you took the photograph, say at the press center, the GPS will show, and then the date will also be there, such that you cannot distort, And so if somebody else brings something that is dissimilar to what is happening, it can be easily, found out, And so this one will help out, because this, for as long as you have the app on your phone, wherever you are, you can have access. And once you take the photograph and you transmit it to us, we will take action on that.
Let's hear from the Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante. He says they are ready to collaborate with the media ahead of the elections.
Everybody knows that the media is very, very important to achieving three very, very critical things for elections. Transparency in the process, the credibility of the election process, but also the outcome, and then securing peace. Now, we are collaborating with the National Media Commission as the main regulatory body for the media fraternity to use the opportunity these few days that are left before we get to election, and even thinking of beyond election, to engage with media houses, journalists, and everybody who matter within the sector, to ensure that the platforms are used for the purposes that they are supposed to be used, which is to inform and educate people. We've seen from elections in the past that the media always play a very critical role as they run up to the election in educating people, but also even during election day in making sure that people get the right kind of information.
We're still on election right now. We're looking more at corruption. Private legal practitioner and journalist of the year, Samson Ladi Anyenini, says Ghana does not need to create any new institution or enact new laws to fight corruption. Speaking at a lecture organized by the One Ghana movement on the theme, The Fight Against Corruption, a Mythical Pursuit, he cited the contract protection law, which has never been applied since it was enacted in 1979. Ms. Anyenini says implementation of the laws already enacted will give a major boost to the fight.
In 2011, we introduced the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, NACAP, intended to ensure interagency coordinated, all-hands-on-deck approach for action, and believed sufficient funding and sustained implementation will see dramatic reduction in corruption in Ghana by 2024. That's the life of that special action document. We are only 4 years away from the deadline, but NACAP's major strength was that it was to be directly integrated into national development planning, making the plan an integral part of the regular annual activities of public institutions, including the ministries, departments, and agencies. Has the fight been but a myth? Article 35(8) of our Constitution says, quote, "The state shall take steps to eradicate," underline that, eradicate corrupt practices and the abuse of power. Remember, the definition of corruption legally includes misuse of power for private gain. What a clear, unambiguous command to and duty imposed on the state to fight the canker of corruption. It is important to note the place of the above provision in the Constitution. It is to be found in Chapter 6, which contains the directive principles of state policy. The DPSPs centralize the collective will, hopes, and aspirations of citizens. All citizens, Parliament, the President, the Judiciary, the Council of State, Cabinet, political parties, and other bodies are to be guided by the DPSPs in their interpretation of the Constitution or any other law. The ideals in there are also to guide all mandatorily, quote, in taking and implementing any policy decisions for the establishment of a just and free society, unquote. In fact, an entire chapter 24 of the Constitution is dedicated to code of conduct expected to guide public officers and sway them away from the attractions of corruption. It opens with an important introduction. Quote, "A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. Examine the efforts, actions, and inactions of our governments, the conduct of public office holders, and answer for yourself if the fight has been a myth." We can't end the curse of the fights being a myth. If that's your conclusion, by doing a few things. The concerns and efforts over the decade to arrest the situation must not be in vain. As I noted on the outset, I have reviewed the operations of our anti-corruption institutions and over a dozen of our anti-corruption legislations. We sincerely do not need to continue on the path of passing more laws and setting up more institutions, especially after the OSP and the right to information laws. Those are two deadly weapons to kill corruption. So I say the corruption fight will not achieve much if we don't do the following. 1, if the Contracts Protection Law is not used to prosecute offenders. This is a scant but monstrous 6-sectioned, 1-page law crafted to exact high-quality execution of government-sponsored infrastructural contracts and service delivery. A violation, especially making fraudulent payments, attracts a refund of up to 3 times the value of the contract, plus a possible jail term of up to 10 years. It is very curious that this apparently watertight anti-corruption law, just 1-page law, with clear purpose to produce substantial deterrence, and in the event of successful prosecution under it, to recover punitively and deny a convict of any benefit of the proceeds of the crime, is not known to have been used since it was enacted in 1979. Again, the fight will not achieve much if, number 2, if serious consideration is not given to an agenda to oil the resource-starved civic educator, NCCE, to undertake vigorous education to change mindsets and attitudes in our schools and communities, to revive the patriotic spirit of the Ghanaian. We have been known to work conscientiously and such that the school teacher who does not earn much but is content had great respect in the community. How did we come to glorify wealth above every virtue and without questioning the source of the wealth? The fight will not achieve much if we do not do this. So, number 3, if the EC will not demand, insist, and cause to be prosecuted political parties that continue to disregard with impunity the law requiring them to file within 6 months from the 31st of December of each year a detailed report showing the state of their accounts, sources of their funds, members' dues paid, contributions and donations, cash and kind, received, assets, including fiscal assets, and audited accounts for the year. Guess the consequences for not complying with this provision of the law. Section 30, subsection 3 of the Political Parties Law exacts a fine from any amount to a maximum of 10 million penalty units. That is 120 million Ghana cedis, and a possible 2 years jail terms upon conviction. Again, the fight will not achieve much if, number 4, if SRAJ is not adequately resourced and properly empowered to vigorously pursue and confiscate unexplained wealth from public office holders.
Samson Ladi Anyenini there. Now, on Wednesday, Christians across Ghana will begin a week of fasting and prayer for the country as they seek peace for the upcoming elections. It will be under the theme, Seek Peace and Pursue It. On Sunday, November 29, all Christians again here in Accra will gather at the Perez Dome for a peace rally. Similar event will happen in the various regional capitals as well. Joining us via Zoom is the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayose, who is the spokesperson for the ecumenical leaders in Ghana. Reverend Dr. Fayose, thank you for your time. Good afternoon. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? I think you are muted. If you would unmute,
okay.
That
Okay.
Great.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers.
Very well said. Thank you very much. Tell us a bit more about this national fast.
One of the good things that have come out of this pandemic is the fact that it has brought the Christian fraternity together. It has united the ecumenical councils. It has united the churches. So we have been praying since the outbreak in March for the last 29 weeks or so. And we want to climax those prayers, not only for the pandemic, but also for the upcoming elections, with a 3-day fasting and prayer session. And we'll climax that with a peace campaign or a peace rally on Sunday. So that is the idea, that we want to seek the face of the Lord in the run-up to the elections. We have done all that is humanly possible. I think the rest we must leave in the hands of the Lord, and the Lord will take us through. So the whole of the Christian fraternity, all the ecumenical councils have come together to organize this 3-day fasting and prayer from Wednesday, 25th of November to the 27th of November. And that is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then on Sunday afternoon, we have the peace campaign.
Okay. I'll just wrap up, sir, by asking you to just speak to Ghanaians and invite them to this program. I believe that what you want is for every Ghanaian Christian, I should say, to be involved in it. Just 30 seconds, appeal to Ghanaians to join in this.
The program is going to be at the Perez Dome. We have invited all the political leaders, the flag bearers of the various political parties. But we are also going to air this on our social media handles. So look out for it. Not everyone can come to the Perez Dome, but we want every Christian to join in the fasting and the prayer from Wednesday to Friday. And also on Sunday afternoon, join us through social media. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Reverend Dr. Fayose there. He's a spokesperson for the ecumenical leaders. That's a mouthful, I must say. Thank you for your time. But the pause was brought to you by Digny Lou. I must mention that before I go. global communities, Dignilu, safe, affordable, safe sanitation. There's more news at myjoyonline.com if you do log on. My name is Gifty and Many thanks for your time.